Hello everyone, welcome to Practical Bug Hunting, a complete guide. In this video, I will be talking about open redirection attacks. What is open redirection attack? So, in a definition, when an application incorporates user controllable data into a target of redirection in an unsafe way. So, meaning that there is a URL where it has some parameter which accepts HTTP or HTTPS kind of a redirection URL. So if we're having such kind of URLs, there might be a chance where attacker can construct a URL within that application, and he will redirect that URL to his attacker URL, which is an external domain, which can lead to phishing attacks, which we can do using phishing attacks. So which that might lead to open redirection attack. So I will give an example as the example was given here. We're taking an example.com, and there is a relay state parameter is there. Instead of some domain which need to be redirected, as an attacker, if I have given google.com and if I given this URL as a phishing link to the user, and if he clicks on it, it will redirect to google.com instead of example.com. In place of google.com, I can give as an attacker my server details, and whenever I send this as a phishing mail to user, he will redirect to my external domain, which is my server, and I can steal the cookies, and I can do different variety of stuff, which I will be explaining later. So this is all about open redirection vulnerability, the basic definition. So how it works? Let me explain. Yeah. So the first way which we can do is using phishing attack. So there is a victim, and I am an attacker. So I can construct an URL, a long URL. Let's say some example.com, which was given in the first line here, redirect.php, redirect URL equal to, let's say there is some domain is there, which it is redirecting. I will take this URL and I will give attacker.com/phish, which is my URL, my domain. Okay, so I will construct in such a way that when victim sees this URL, he is not aware of is it a malicious or is it a legitimate one. So instead of attacker.com, I will give like example sub.example.com slash something like that, which will be looking like a legitimate, which victim doesn't know about it, that it is a malicious URL, and he will, once he click on this particular link, it will be redirected to my server. So once it's redirected to my server, so as it is it will feel like a legitimate website. So attacker found that effective way of trick the victim to redirect him to a fake website, right, which is my server in my case. So now I will create a page, HTML page with username and password, which is exactly the same as example.com. So user once redirect to that page, he will give the username and password and click on submit. As it is a fake website, as soon as you click on submit, those credentials will be stolen and those will be logged in my server in the logs. So I can take that information, that credentials, and I can impersonate and go into the victim details, and I can log in behalf of the victim, and I can do an account takeover of the details. That's one way of doing it. So even though victim doesn't have a doubt, even though whenever he enters the credentials and click on submit, as soon as I get all the credentials and it will be logged in my server, immediately it will be redirected to the main website, which is example.com, and it will again ask for the username and password. He will not feel it's a malicious, because it might think maybe he entered wrong password or username, and he will re-enter it again, and he will be doing his activities as normal. So in this case, I'm getting my username and password, which will look like exact same example.com, right? So that's how it works. If as an attacker, we can do it as a phishing attack, right? So there might be other example. If it's the second one, bank.example.com redirect URL equal to some attacker.example.net. So in this case, let's say there is a bank where we have to give the bank credentials, username and credentials, and we have to log in. So I can create a fake bank website, and I will send that as a phishing link to the user or a victim, and using CSR of attack, we can able to get the credentials. Whenever user clicks on that link, he will redirect to my fake website, which is bank.example.com. He will enter those bank credentials, and I can steal those credentials, and he will be redirected back to the bank and to give the username and password again, where by using those credentials I can steal whatever I want, right? So not only HTTP parameters, we can also execute accesses using this open redirect, where if you see the third example, we can able to redirect the victim to execute this JavaScript code where I can steal the cookies, and I can we can make sure we can execute, and the victim and AB can steal the cookies by using this third method by simply just giving the JavaScript of elect of some document.domain or document.cookie, right? So these are the three ways which attacker can attack on the victims by using phishing mails, right? I hope you got it. Going to the next. So how can we identify this attack? So how well that we can identify this open redirect? There are three methods which I would say. One way of doing it using burp. So let me show you that. So I will just explain you and then I will show you in the burp. So once you spider the whole target, and you know, so once you add the target and scope, do the spidering, you will get complete sitemap, and then you can go to burp search, and you can, these are all the necessary parameters. You can search for all these parameters. I do have a lot of attack vectors. I will be included that in the resource page, so which will be useful for you for bug hunting. So you can try to search for these parameters. If you found any endpoint, right, you can just send it to repeater, and you can try different payloads like evil.com, google.com, bing.com, or your attacker URL, and see whether it's redirecting to that particular website. So if we given evil.com, if able to redirect to evil.com, then it's an open redirect URL. So open redirect attack, right? So URL redirect happens. It will happen on different pages as far as I know. It can be on login page, it can be on logout page, it can be on change password or sign up, because in the code, whenever they will write scripts saying that okay, whenever you click on submit, navigate to so and so, it will redirect to so and so page. So these are the actions where when we click on some particular action, it will go to the next page, or it will redirect to the other pages. So these are the main login, logout, change password, or sign up, where we will see most of the open redirect attacks. Okay, let me show you in the burp. So I have taken one example. I have a sitemap. So these are all the endpoints that were there. So you can quickly go to burp and quickly search for anything. Okay, you have to add in scope only and dynamic update. You can remove the response headers. So let me search for some simple redirect. Yeah, it's already there. And click on go. Let's see if you found anything. Yeah, you got few. Check where is open redirect. It's in referral. Check in the header if you see any. Uh, uh, uh. I'm checking. There you go. I seen one. Yeah. Okay. There is one redirect header in the blog in udemy.com. Let me send it to repeater. So whenever I send it to repeater, here you can see this is an encoding form, right? So what you can do is you can do Control Shift U to get it decoded. So instead of this blog udemy.com, you can try to send it to evil.com. It was moved permanently. Do a follow redirection. Even though you got one match, so try to render and see. Click on render. It's showing. Even you got the 200 response, it got redirected to the WordPress page, which is a blog page. So it's not redirected. It just redirected back to the login page of the blog. So it's not a vulnerability. If it is redirected to evil.com or google.com, then it's an issue. So this is one example which we can do using burp. So likewise, you can try on all the parameters which I have shown here, and which have all the attack vectors in the resources page. You can work on it for all the individual targets which you work on in bug hunting. So this is one way of doing it. So the other way of doing it is using Google Docking. So there are a lot of ways to do it. So these are all the keywords which you can type in and you can try for open redirect parameters. Let's say, there is a keyword equal to https, http, https, and the keywords can be this, right? Redirect, relay state, return URL, redirect URL, forward URL, success URL, redirect, exit URL, destination, right? So I think I have copied here. Let me show you those. So these are all different types of Google Docs which you can work on it. I will put this in the resources thing where you can try to search. Let me try to show you one thing. Maybe index. Oh, let me take you one. Okay, copy Google google.com, put in URL, right? And so I'm trying to give one. So this is like UI. This is one kind of an endpoint. So UI slash clear selected slash question mark next equal to, which are all the targets that you have next equal to will be displayed here. So just click on this one, and if you see, you can see next equal to. It's again redirected to the C equal to, but you can intercept that in the burp and then you can play around it. Let me see if I can find anything. Yeah, there you go. Next equal to explore, and it's again redirecting, right? So it's a dynamic endpoint where you can intercept that in burp and you can play around it. So, and it's again redirecting back to some other endpoint, but you can see the next, right? Let me show you other endpoint. Next equal to, and again redirect to session ID. So this is a dynamic endpoints which is redirect back to some other page, but you can try to intercept that using burp and you can play around it. Next equal to, if you see session ID, you can try to give the attacker URL and then you can play around it. So these are all the Google Docs. If you want, you can, you can try to give, if you want to test in your independent target, so you can try to give yahoo.com, right? So it doesn't have anything like that. Maybe you can give redirect equal to here or URL equal to. See if any URL equal to are there. Yeah, there are a lot of URL equal to are there somewhere here. So likewise, so you can try with the Google Docs. So these are all the list of endpoints which I have given. You can play around it. I have a lot which I will be attaching in the resources page. So these are all the endpoints. Okay. So according to your requirement, you can play around it. So I will give the all the attack vectors in my resources page. So the other method, as I said, right, we can add your site domain name like yahoo.com or whichever the target that you're working on, and try for in URL and see ID equal to, or whatever which will work for you. So we can do it using automated scanners, which we do have. There was one tool which was written by Joy or developed by Joy, who is our co-hacker. So let me show you in a quick this tool, which with this automation tool you don't need to do anything. So if I click do ls, so these are all the parameters or redirect. So let me open and show you what exactly. So the parameters will have all the file, path, action. So as I have shown you the attack vector, so these are all the what we call the parameters, right? So you can just copy paste this. You can add. Currently for our example, I have just given only 7 or 8, right? You can in my resources list, you can copy all those and you can use this. And we will be including this tool in our Udemy course, so no worries at all. So these are all the parameters. If you see in the cat parameters, if I do ls, there is a redirect. So I think these are this will be all the payloads. Redirects, yeah. So the payloads will have slash slash star slash, right? So the slash slash star slash, which is nothing but uh, uh, let's say there is subdomain redirect equal to some example.com, this slash slash star slash and then evil.com. So it will work in that way. If you click on ls and Uh, what else? We have to give the destination. Click on clear. Let me do hyphen H. So we have to give domain, we have to give payload, we have to destination, output parameters. I have given everything. Let me show you once. Let me clear. So here, this is a word list like subdomains.txt. So you can run a subfinder on particular target and you will get all the subdomains and you can give that as an input. And you will use -p as a parameters. These are all the, sorry, payloads. So these redirects will have all the payloads. So -d is nothing but destination, like where it has to redirect. It can be evil.com. In this case, I have given evil.com. And what all the parameters, as I said, right? So file, redirect URL, those are all the parameters which you can give. And I'm saving this results in redirect output underscore text. So whenever you click on enter, this will run. This will check all the attacks, and whichever all it is getting redirected, it will be saved in the redirect output doc text. So yeah, so this is one way. If you see a first example, there is one subdomain, lifeomic.com. It's putting ///evil.com. So it will run 100% and will take, if any vulnerable is there, it will give the results. So this is a very quick way of automating the redirect. So we are making our life simpler, right? So this is one way of doing it. It will take some time, so I'm ignoring it. You got the point how to do it, right? So these are the three ways which we can do. There are other ways as well, which I will explain in the live demos, which I'm planning to give the live targets of open directs in the demos, which I'm planning next. So let me show you how the vulnerable code look like. So this is the vulnerable source code look like. It's always good to view the source and see how the redirection happening. So in this PHP, it's just taking the get URL, just taking the URL directly, and it's putting in the location, and it's just redirecting whichever the URL that we are giving. So because of this, attacker can just construct a malicious script and in the URL parameter, and then it will redirect to the attacker's URL. So just it's passing the URL in the get and just putting in the location header, which should not be, right? So in case of Java, so it's a Java servlet, so where it's taking the get method, request method, uh, so get query string, and if just validating if it has a URL, and if it's just getting that, if we see string URL equal to request dot get parameter, it's just taking the URL, it's requesting for the URL, and it's putting the response in the response dot send direct, just directly sending the response in the URL. So if you see here, so because of this, I can just send an email as a phishing link to a victim, and I can construct like this AH reference equal to in my code, and I can just pass this URL equal to attacker.example.net, and I will ask him to log in, and he will log into my fake website, and I can steal the credentials. So here they're just passing the URL without having any validation. So this kind of source code is an example for you guys to have a reference. So how can we remediate the source code? So I just want to explain how we can remediate this. So instead of sending it as a parameter or direct and sending it as a response, right? We can just send it directly actual URL what it is instead of asking user to give an input, right? Or send as attacker giving that particular input and trying to modify. So it should not be having a user uncontrolled input. In whichever some redirection is there, it should be mentioned in the source code, so automatically it will go redirected automatically, right? So in the same way for PHP, it's just redirecting whichever the subdomain or within the same target that we're giving here. It just redirect to this mysite.com. There is no way to intercept or modify it. And response.redirected folder login.php. Here we're directly just giving the location, right? Instead of sending it to the get and then responding it to the as a URL, right? So in Rails, you can see it's just a redirect underscore to login underscore path. The same as Java, PHP, and ASP.NET. Okay, let me go to the impact. So The impact depends on the theft, how the attacker will exploit the victim's credentials, right? So it can be a redirection of victim to external domain, which is attacker domain, or it can be of stealing of cookies, or it can be of executing the JavaScript and stealing the cookies from the victim, right? So there are different ways which we can change this vulnerability, open redirect vulnerability. One has XSS, which I already said, and LFI, where if you have some path equal to, and you can do dot dot slash, and you can try to get some etc password by using that path parameter, right? We can do LFI here, and you can do SSRF as well, because you can, if there is an open redirect, you can try to give some external attacker domain, or you can try to go and check internal domains which are there for the particular target. You can do 127.0.0.1 slash, you can do port scanning, you can try to get all the internal domains which are not authenticated, or which are hidden actually. So that those kind of stuff we can do a lot uh, for SSRF, right? And we can also steal OAuth tokens, where we have a login, sign up, you know at these pages you can steal the OAuth tokens. So these are all the four different ways which I will be showing in the live demo. So yeah, thank you. Going to the next one, remediation for open redirect. So what are the ways to remediate this open redirect vulnerability? So one way of doing this is, instead of sending the parameter directly in the get method, it has to be, there should be some sanitation. Let's say, uh, for example, .com, there are some 5 to 6 subdomains, or some URLs are there which will be need to be passed in the redirection parameters, right? Those are the approved URLs. So we can compare these 5. So let me show you, or let me add. So for example.com, let's say some example.com, you have some redirect equal to, you have to validate this from code front. From code front, you do have example sub dot example dot com, login dot example dot com. So you can, whenever here, these are the two, let's say, which need to be validated. So these are the approved URLs. So if attacker is trying to give any other URL apart from that, it should be rejected and should be redirected back to the login page, right? So we can compare this with this approved URLs, and we can do sanitation, and we can avoid open redirects. So the other way of doing it is, instead of sending the google.com, right? So if attacker is trying to send the google.com here, or some other external URL, you can, for this sub.example.com, you can put an ID 12. For this one, you can put an ID some 20. So you can reference this 12 and 20 here. So in whenever we're trying to log in, it's trying to open the home page, right? Home page some .com, home page dot example dot com. Sorry, not home page. Let's say sub example.com. So instead of subexample.com, it will just display as 12. Attacker doesn't know what the 12 is, but in the background, the 12 is nothing but sub.example.com. So whenever redirect happens, it will just go to the sub.example.com. In the same way, if you give 20 here, it will directly go to login.example.com. So this way, it can accept only integers, right? It should not accept any strings. So in this way, attacker cannot do anything here. This is one way of remediating the open redirects. So these are the two other ways. The third way of doing it is using, we have to use the relative URLs instead of absolute URLs. So what are those? Relative URLs are nothing but the short URLs. So let's say there is a h reference equal to https example.com space some id equal to 1, right? Some space dot php. Okay. So this is absolute URL. It's giving the complete path. Instead of this, we can just use dot dot space dot php. This is the relative path. It will be shorter, and it will not have the full complete path. It will have shorter paths, which will be useful in the open directory to avoid this open directory instead of, because it's using shorter paths in the relative URL. So it's always good to use relative URLs instead of absolute URLs. So that's it. So I do have yeah, let me show you a few HackerOne reports before I wind up. So there is an open direct in the path whenhq.com. Here, it's a simple open redirect. You can see this is the endpoint. He's just giving //evil.com and it's getting redirected. So it's an open redirect. It's a very simple, right? Straightforward. Next one, they have found one more open redirect on aw.mail.ru. Here there is a parameter open forum underscore reg, and where there is no validation here. So when whichever you give here http/evil.com, so it will redirect. So this is one more example. So I'm trying to cover all different examples. So there is an accesses which we can do. So there is a app.mopub.com. There is a next parameter where there is no validation here, so I can able to redirect to google.com. At the same time, you can execute the JavaScript. So here they're just passing JavaScript alert of proof concept. So they're popping an alert and we can steal the cookies from here. We can simply just give this JavaScript alert. I'm just showing this demo, okay? Next one, by using back / we can bypass. How I will show you. So in my live demos, I will be showing normal basic open redirects and also by how to bypass the open redirects. Okay. Uh, so this is the URL, original redirection URL. If you see, there is a reference underscore URL parameter is there. So this is one of the endpoint or subdomain which it is using. So attacker has constructed in such a way that he has given his URL, which is phishing.com, and he has used this slash instead of backward slash, and they have used dashboard.mydear.net. So this slash is a bypass where it got redirected. This is a trusted domain, and it just thought the application thought that yeah, this is trusted, and just navigate to this as there is a phishing.com before that, so it just navigated to phishing.com. So that's how bypass. There are a lot of bypasses which we can work on. The other one is open one bit on login page. This is on login page. If you see, this is the endpoint next equal to. This is one parameter. So this jar.co. So he is giving his attacker mail and then is putting like not attacker. So this jar.co is a one host site or one target. He is giving the target first and then he is putting at the rate and giving google.com, meaning that the code will take that okay, there is a jar.com is there, so it is a valid. It's just ignoring at the rate is in the sense it will just go here and then it will redirect to google.com. So this is kind of bypasses which we can work on in live demos. So these are all different ways HackerOne reports which I want to show. If you want to go to and see different reports, right, you can just do in URL reports and in text open redirect and sitehacker.com. You will get a lot. If you want to get latest one and then you can do update a year ago and then click on advances, then you will get all the latest 2020 2019, which will be useful, right? So these are ways which we can do open redirect vulnerabilities. And in the next videos I will be explaining all the open redirect in the live demos which I will be showing it. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you.